In this video, I'm going to go over some of the basic elements of construction of an effective paragraph. So this is drawn from a revised student paper that I kind of took all of the identifying information out of, including the class, but it was from an introductory U.S. history survey. The source that this student was analyzing was this political cartoon about the New Deal. And I'm going to explain how one of the body paragraphs is developed. One of the key ideas that I'm trying to get across is that the paragraph is the basic unit of construction of writing, of all types of writing, but especially argument-driven writing. In this case, you have a controlling idea. In other words, a claim that you are trying to develop using evidence and analysis. Now, I have given in these assignments the controlling idea, but I haven't given you the specifics. So, for example, you might have to contextualize a source. That is essentially what this paragraph that I'm giving you as an example is doing. It is explaining the connection between the political cartoon and the conditions facing agriculture during the Great Depression. So, here's how a paragraph is constructed, generally speaking. There's always a topic sentence. This explains what the controlling idea is. In this case, it sets up the connection between the cartoon and the context. Then, you need to have evidence. So I'm going to highlight the evidence in green here, or the connection, the way that the cartoon and the description is a caricature of the poverty-stricken conditions faced by agricultural workers. So here you can see in this sentence, the author is drawing details from the image, evidence, and connecting it to the historical context in a way that develops the larger idea about how the cartoon reflects the troubles of agriculture. Then the author pulls in some additional information to help analyze this. These next two, so this blue sentence here draws an example from course materials. So in this case, it was from a lecture, but you might pull in something from the textbook. And then in the next paragraph, or in the next sentence, next two sentences, we see more information that develops that context, right? It's developing essentially these poverty-stricken conditions. And sorry if you can't see this with the shading. I'm trying to do my best here without a blackboard. So as we move into the paragraph itself, or as we move towards the end of the paragraph, there is also a second piece of evidence here. The cartoon image of the farmer depicts all of agriculture as a barefoot sector, unable to even afford clothes. So you notice how there's two of these sections here that are drawn directly from the image. There's details pulled in as evidence, and then it's followed up with information from historical context and analysis. So in this last piece here, this is further analysis of the image and the artist's argument that the Roosevelt administration is right to offer remedy. So it's pointing to another political context for the image. So you'll note how each of the sentences in this paragraph serve a purpose within developing the controlling idea. They're either, as with the green, these two sentences here, let me circle these just in case you can't see the writing. Whoa, okay. So this sentence here and this sentence here bring in evidence from the image itself. All right, this is like getting pretty colorful. Whereas then this information in this case is drawn from the textbook. This case is additional analysis from the author that develops what the artist's argument is, which then transitions to the next idea, which is what the author is trying to recommend. And so this last sentence serves as a transition to the next point. So if you're moving from a point about contextualization into a paragraph about corroboration, you might raise absences or further questions or things that are not very clear from the image and that where you need more information to make a case for it. So you might raise some of that silence or some of that nuance or some of that confusion in this last paragraph and then develop it in the corroboration paragraph. But what I want you to take away from here also is the need for specificity. That it's not just enough to say farmers struggled during the Great Depression and this cartoon reflects it. But instead you have to go into the detail and explain the specifics, just as you have been developing a reading of an image with very fine attention to the detail. And you've had to because you don't have any other information. You have to do the same thing when bringing in the historical context. So in this paragraph here, you're seeing there are specific details about wheat prices. In rural areas, incomes have dropped 60%. The author is bringing in very specific aspects of the Dust Bowl, of the experience of agriculture in the Great Depression, that helps explain why the cartoon is using the details that it is. And so it's not just enough, again, to say the cartoon reflects the Depression. That's a vague, weak argument. You have to have very specific details drawn from the reading that are doing the work of contextualization. Now, again, you might not have necessarily 100% confidence when you're dealing with an unknown image, but that's why the detail is so important, because it's going to help you identify the places where you think you might be right, and also maybe identify some of the false starts in constructing your argument. The key thing, again, is that a paragraph has a controlling idea, and that each sentence within it has a specific purpose in developing that controlling idea. Anything that doesn't relate to developing that controlling idea with specificity needs to go.